Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Loading Up podcast. I am your host, Producer J, along with my co-host, Brother Zay. How's it going, my friend?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I mean, a lot better than I have been this past week. If a little behind the scenes note, I have been dealing with pink eye for the past few days.
Yeah.
And it's been a nightmare, let me tell you. Like, I literally could not look at anything that emitted light. I literally had to stay in darkness.
Dang, it was that bad. Wow.
It was that bad. I couldn't even look at my phone. Like, I was squinting, I had to wear, like, I had a makeshift eye patch. Because, like, my son had this, it's for his costume. He had this, like, yeah, it just so happened that he had that. It was like, it's like an elastic band that he put around his, like, neck. That's how he wore it, because he went as Shadow the Hedgehog for Halloween.
Okay.
So, yeah, so he did that, and I put it around my eye with, like, a warm cloth, and literally that's how I was, like, walking around, and I friggin' looked like a pirate. But it was rough. It was rough. I couldn't do anything. Like, people don't really understand. I've had pink eye, like, once in my life. I don't remember it being this bad. But
it sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, you feel like there's something in there that you just want to, like, freaking rip your eye out and clean it, but you can't. So
did you get to play games with your good eye?
Thankfully, yes.
Okay.
I was able to play so I played a little bit of Spider-Man, but I'm taking a break of taking a break, because I was originally taking a break from Starfield to play Spider-Man. Then I took a break from that to play Metal Gear Solid, the collection that just came out.
Yeah.
And I've been playing that ever since. And
yeah, so you're getting achievements.
Yes, I'm getting achievements.
For beating Metal Gear 2.
Yeah, Metal Gear 2, I did Metal Gear 1. I'm on Metal Gear Solid right now.
Okay.
So that's what I'm working through now. But I feel like eventually, because these games are pretty short, so, like, that's why I'm blowing through them pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe after this Metal Gear Solid, I'll go back to Spider-Man just so I can finish that one up.
Yeah, it's a quick one.
Yeah, I know that's a quick one too. So, and then, I mean, what was it? Tuesday, right? Wednesday? The Modern Warfare 3 campaign just came out. So now yeah. I'm like tempted to play that, because I heard that it's actually very short.
It is. You're talking like maybe 4 hours, 5 if you're playing on harder difficulty.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is.
I'll just say
concerning.
I'm glad I didn't pay for it. My brother did.
Yeah, but you can't play the campaign yet if it's early access, even though you're game sharing.
Oh, for real?
Yes. So me and my brother Matt were talking about how game sharing doesn't work for early access, and it may not even work for this, because technically it's considered a DLC, so game sharing may not work for Modern Warfare 3.
I feel like DLC used to work. Or maybe it's just the early access part that doesn't work.
I don't know. Well, we'll see. On release date, we'll just have to come back and discuss exactly if you're able to play, because your brother bought it. Right?
Yeah, I haven't even started it yet, so.
Yeah, so we'll take
touch
a
base.
look back on this once it officially releases.
Yes, we will. So what have you been playing?
So after Spider-Man, I fell into a deep, depressing hole after beating a game, like we always do.
That always happens.
No, I'm playing because Headbangers came out on the 31st, and that's been fun. It's a rhythm battle royale game on Xbox. It's on Game Pass, and it's really fun. It kind of reminds you of like Animal Party, right? But it's a rhythm game, like battle royale. Like, you have to play these mini games, and it's like WarioWare with music. Yeah. It's really fun. You get a group of people, you play, and it's fun. So I was playing that. I finished Mortal Kombat 1 officially, done with the story, and another game another indie game that popped up on Game Pass, Jusant. I was playing that.
Jusant, yes, I heard good things.
interesting. It's, you're climbing a mountain, viewing the story that people left on this, just completely empty mountain. And
Is it like a walking sim
yeah,
type?
it is basically, yeah. Yes,
Okay.
it is. Yeah. But it's an indie game. So I've been dabbling in that, waiting for, games like Call of Duty and stuff to come out.
Yes. Yeah, so you've been working hard, putting me to shame.
We play games here, okay?
You play games. I replay games. I bet you know how many times I've played Metal Gear Solid like over the years? This is like my 5th time.
Jesus. At the very least, you're playing games. That's all that matters.
Yes.
Yeah, we give you that.
So
I guess we'll jump right into the news, right?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So we'll start with some of the biggest news with Bungie's layoffs. So I think it was Monday, last Monday, which was the 30th, where Bungie announced that they're laying off a bunch of people due to, they said, declining revenue, 45% decline in revenue. And as the days have gone on, we've sort of got more information from people who were fired and or during the, big announcement in the Bungie offices, and we had to learn more about why and who was targeted and reasons why, and it's a mess. It's just a giant mess, because any layoffs are just terrible. And it just goes to show you that we really need to unionize more, specifically in the video game industry. You make a game, you work hard for 5 to 8 years to make a game. The next thing you know, as soon as the game releases, you're laid off. It's really a disgusting habit.
Yeah, it sucks. And it's like, I've heard this sentiment going around that like, oh, this is the best year in gaming. Like, yeah, technically for consumers, because we're getting a lot of quality products and games throughout the year, more so than we have in the past few years. Like, you can make an argument that this has been the best gaming year in like a decade or something like that. But the fact of the matter is that it's actually the worst year in gaming for actual developers, because there's been so many layoffs, so many studio closures, so many cancellations of games. Yeah. And it's actually really bad, and a lot of people are suffering from these studios who are just being laid off, and it seems to happen like just randomly. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. It's not like they say revenue and stuff like that, but usually I feel like when studios lay developers off, it's usually in the beginning of the year. I feel like I feel like that's a trend that seems to be happening, but this year, for whatever reason, it's been all over the place. Like, everybody's getting laid off. Yeah. And it sucks, because it's like, I mean, especially now, the holidays are coming up. Imagine like you just get laid off right before the holidays.
This happened insane. To me before. That's actually happened to me before. So, you sympathize with that. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the, because when I was growing up, I used to want to be a game developer. And honestly, like, as I grew up, I started realizing this is a very cutthroat industry, and I don't think I would be like comfortable having my job essentially on the line constantly. Yeah. Like, I would have to be like in a leadership position in order for my jobs to be secure. But as a regular dev, like, I couldn't freaking function day to day knowing that I might be cut off, like you said, like 8 years from now or 5 years from now, when I'm just releasing my first game. Yeah. So it sucks. And I definitely feel for developers who are going through it right now. And hopefully they'll be able to launch or land back on their feet, because I mean, now that there's empty spots. And I know usually when this happens, there's other developers from other studios saying, hey, apply. We still got places or positions to fill. So there's a lot of talented people out there who will get something after this, but still, it's the fact that they have to, that they got to scramble, they got to search and all that stuff, and it just sucks.
Definitely. And we even have updates on what was discussed during the Bungie meeting from inside sources. So like the employees specifically who were there at the meeting, who stayed, they asked management, like, what levers were taken to avoid layoffs, and they asked if one of them was executive compensation, and they were told absolutely not, that will not happen at Bungie. So
that is insane.
Yeah, so that right there was like, it's just a big slap in the face. A lot of devs within Bungie, according to the inside sources, are extremely pissed off at the management levels. Like, they didn't even want to consider lowering their pay. Now, granted, the article was updated to say that the CEOs and the upper management are not getting their annual bonuses, but they're not
they're not taking pay cuts anyway.
They're not taking pay cuts. They're not getting bonuses, but they're not taking pay cuts to try and save jobs. They were just like, all right, let them go, which is absolutely shitty. It's insane, right?
Yeah, I don't understand why. Even not, this goes beyond just like gaming industry, like in companies in general. Like, why is greed like the top priority in terms of like if you can save jobs, if you can, and save essentially productivity and morale, why wouldn't you just take that little pay? Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really gonna affect you at all. Like, from leadership positions, so it just doesn't make sense. And what's even worse is the fact that Sony bought Bungie for, I think, $1 billion more than they were worth. I mean, granted, that usually happens, but they paid an extra $1 billion for retention purposes.
Yeah.
So that specifically, so that way people wouldn't have to be laid off, and they can keep developers on. So that way they wouldn't, because sometimes when these buyouts happen, people start to leave. They paid an extra $1 billion to make sure that didn't happen, and then here it is, it happened.
That was actually brought up by the employees during this big meeting, and they said that the $1.2 billion that was paid from Sony specifically for employee retention was spent a long time ago. They said often on buying out employees and Bungie shares, which went right back to Sony. So nothing was left in that pot to avoid layoffs.
Wow.
That was all spent already. So that notion of a lot of it went either right back to Sony or to pay off the few employees who wanted to leave before the transition. So that's gone.
That's crazy.
What's even shittier is that they sort of blamed Destiny 2 players for leaving and for not coming back when they have new DLC and new content, for the decline in revenue, ultimately for the layoffs, which is absolutely insane. Like, people didn't leave Destiny 2 because they just didn't want to feel like playing anymore. The content was lacking, it just wasn't as good, so people left. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But then to blame the consumer, to say, oh, this is your fault, why we have to lay off all these people, that's insane.
That's crazy. Like, and that's one thing why I don't understand why. I mean, was it Jim Ryan, or maybe it was just a Sony exec, or maybe it was Jim Ryan, that he said he feels the Bungie acquisition could lead to more money, more revenue than the Activision deal from Xbox. And now you see this, and it's just like, where did you think that made sense? Like, it just, I don't understand. And it's so, honestly, now that we have the benefit of hindsight, was the Bungie deal a good deal?
Probably not.
I don't think so now, because now, I mean, Bungie, granted, they probably took the deal because they were on dire straits. They were probably facing this premature, like, earlier on, like around the time the deal went through, they were probably gonna do this. But then the deal went through, and they avoided it for a year. So
they did say that without the Sony acquisition, they would have been in very, very deep water, a very big trouble without the Sony acquisition. So, I mean, they were literally on thin ice.
Yeah, and I don't understand. This is the problem too, because essentially Bungie put all their eggs in the Destiny basket.
Yeah,
and they thought that was gonna be their moneymaker, when in reality, like, maybe they thought it was gonna make like Call of Duty levels of money or Fortnite levels of money. And granted, it made a lot, but not as much as they could have. I mean, granted, it took a long time for them to go free to play, so that was also a hindrance. I honestly think it was the fact that first of all, they screwed up Destiny 1. That was the first mistake. And then they tried to fix it with Destiny 2, but now they're trying to make Destiny 2 the service game. When people, like, eventually you get tired of it. Like, not that they get tired of playing Destiny, but they get tired of the content that's being provided. It's not enough, and it's just like, or it's lacking, or whatever the case may be, they start to leave, like you said. So I feel like that, and that's probably why they're trying to pivot towards Marathon, which is now the next game that they're making. But I think they probably should be making maybe multiple games at the same time. Bungie is a big studio.
That's what they're trying to focus on now, trying to get multiple IPs so that way they can sustain themselves, because they're just not sustainable right this second. Obviously, because they fired a bunch of people, they're losing revenue, player retention is not there, and then even their new DLC, the Final Shape, they delayed that again. It's not looking good for Bungie.
Didn't they say that was like kind of like their make or break?
Well, yeah, that's why they want to delay it, to get it right. They're saying that it's currently in a really good spot, but they want to make it better, so that's why they're delaying it.
Yeah. That doesn't sound promising. Like, I get that they're trying to take the time to make sure that it's quality and it delivers, but the fact that you even need to do that after all this has gone down, like, you could have released the thing and then maybe done it. I don't know. I feel like there's no easy answer for that.
There's not an easy answer, yeah.
But still, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like that's not the right way to do things. But, I mean, we'll see how things plan out. I mean, a lot, and that's the thing, a lot of the developers that were let go were veterans in Bungie. Like, they were there, 18 years, 20 years. Like, they were there since, like, the freaking Halo 1 days.
Yeah.
Or Halo 2 days. Like, that's a big part. Like, those are big roles to let go. And honestly, I hope that Microsoft is looking at this and being like, we need to get those people back at 343 to, I mean, granted, if they want to, it's not like they're going to force them to come back, but if they're willing, they should be able to have the opportunity to come back and work for Halo and make Halo great again, because I know Halo's not doing so good. I mean, it's doing better.
No, Halo's been doing really well. This season's been awesome.
Halo's doing better, but it's been through a lot, is what I'm saying. Like, it could use the veterans from Bungie that made it what it was, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we'll see.
At this particular time, not just Bungie, Sony in general have been laying off. A lot of different studios have been laying off. Insomniac was hit with layoffs.
Naughty Dog.
The new one that they just purchased recently, Fire Sprite or Fire. Oh man,
I think it's Fire Sprite.
Fire Sprite. They're in development hell because people are leaving.
Didn't Media Molecule get hit with layoffs too?
Yeah. So Sony's first party and partnership studios are really suffering right now with lots of losses, and it's just like, what's going on? And then it goes right into like a really bad time, because Sony just announced, while all these layoffs are happening across all their first party studios, Sony just announced that they're buying iSize, which is an AI powered media developer for their movies and stuff. So like now they're buying companies, but the companies that they already have are suffering.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say, oh, it's different divisions and stuff like that, but like the whole point of layoffs is cost cutting. Like that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're cost cutting, but then you're spending money again on AI technology and cloud technology, is it feels like a slap in the face to the developers, because granted, it's for a different division, but who's to say that Sony can't be like, oh, we're gonna replace a lot of these developer jobs with AI. Like, I know it's no secret that developers have been like talking about this stuff. Some are for it, some are against it, and I mean, hopefully there's some like happy medium that we can find, because AI is inevitable. Like, we know it's gonna be a thing. There's no ways to get around it. It's happening. The issue is we gotta figure out what's the best implementation that's not gonna cause conflict with developers.
Yeah, or massive layoffs.
Or massive layoffs, because now you have the ability to basically put work on an AI, but how much work is the question? Like, do you want them to, like, do you want to offload a whole freaking developer's job that will just automate everything and essentially do their job for them? But then, like, you run into the risk of, because AI is not foolproof. Like, it can lead to issues where there's like copyrighted material or plagiarism or whatever the case may be. Like, it's not, there's no such thing as an original AI. That's how it works.
Yeah.
It takes from different stuff and blends it together. So there might be an issue where like, if they're trying to automate like a scripting system for like dialogue and stuff like that, like, they might run into an issue where they'll take a line from another game. Like, that's a real like problem that could happen, and it's kind of like worrying that this is the acquisition. Granted, it could have been made a while ago. Like, this, they're just announcing it now, but it's just the timing of it is very, very bad. Right after the layoffs.
Yeah, just all around bad timing for the whole thing. I mean, we're coming up on the holidays. It's absolutely ridiculous.
And the fact too, because like Sony likes to boast that, oh, record sales for Spider-Man, record sales for PlayStation sales. Like, they're boasting about all this stuff, but then they have to do stuff like this, and not only that, but the revenue, or the operating profit or something like that, is lower. It's at its lowest. It's been at its lowest since 2019.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they're both. I mean, granted, they're probably doing it for shareholders, but still, the fact that you're talking about this stuff and you're trying to make it seem like, oh, like you're doing very good, but like you're doing layoffs and your profits are decreasing. So it's like something's got to give, you know? And I hope this, because I know we talked about it before about the seemingly shuffle that they're doing behind the scenes at Sony, where they got, I mean, we don't know if they got rid of Jim Ryan or he actually chose to retire, but the timing is weird. And then what was it, Connie Booth or whatever just left. Like, yeah. So it seems like they're trying to
retired,
quote unquote retired. So there seems to be a shift now, and hopefully it's for the better, but still, like, we're still in the thick of it, and I honestly don't think that these layoffs are done. I think there's gonna be more studios that are gonna hit layoffs. Like, I know Sucker Punch, they're probably gonna have to deal with this. Sony Santa Monica, maybe. Like, there's a lot of other studios that are probably gonna be hit hard because of this, and it might not be the end, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, which really sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I hope this is it. And I know a lot of people say, oh, the Bungie thing is its own thing, but they're a Sony studio. Like, there's no way around it. Like, they are a Sony studio, so yeah. they get lumped with Sony stuff. So
yeah, I mean, like you said, it's not Sony, it's Bungie, but they're still part of Sony. So
right.
Well, let's just hope it ends here. I honestly hate reporting on these things, but we have to know, and we have to unionize, because this is getting ridiculous. Just making a game, spend 20 years of your life building up a studio, and then next thing you're gone.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, and hopefully things turn around, and I mean, like I said, hopefully this is the end of it, but I honestly don't think it is.
Yeah. All right, let's well, we have some news on, and I'm gonna screw up his last name, so I'm just gonna call him what I've always called him, Cliffy B.
Cliffy B. Cliff Blazinski.
There we go. Cliffy B came out and he did a interview with comicbook.com, and he was talking about like his new comic that's coming out. He's talking about games and his position, what he thinks about his his baby Gears of War should be at, where it should go from here. And he talks about Gears of War and how he wants it to be sort of like a reboot, kind of like God of War went through. And I kind of admit, after Gears 6, I really think they should do that. That sounds really interesting. Reboot Gears would be amazing. It would be absolutely insane. And he even goes on to say that he has he says that Phil Spencer has my number, like, just give me a call. And it's like, that's like a dream come true for him to come back to work on Gears again. You know, even if it's in a consultant way, not just to work on it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, so I've always been a fan of Cliffy. Like, I feel like over at least during the original trilogy, but because he left after 3, right? That's what it was.
Yeah.
So like in the original trilogy, I was a fan of his like vision, and I used to like watch interviews with him and stuff like that. Like, he seemed like him and Rod Ferguson, who's actually now back with Xbox under Blizzard, working on Diablo. He seemed to know like what made Gears. And like 1, 2, and 3, there was like, I want to say, I know perfect is not proper, but it's a really good trilogy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
the trilogy was so good.
Yeah, every game like just improved upon itself and got better. Like Gears 1 was great, then Gears 2 was better than Gears 1, Gears 3 was better than Gears 2 and 1. It was a good like formula that they had, and Cliffy B was one of the reasons why.
It's not often where you get trilogies, no matter the medium, where the sequel, the next one is better than the previous. So
so actually I follow him on Twitter, and I noticed that recently he's been talking about Gears like more frequently.
Oh yes, he has.
And I mean, obviously, it seems like he wants to come back, but obviously he's not gonna freaking beg for a job, you know? Like, he wants to be asked to come back. And I mean, Rod Ferguson, he left Coalition. He left Coalition after the last Gears game, and he went to join Blizzard. So basically, like, I don't know who took his place, but it feels like they're left without like a central vision of what like made the original Gears so great, or the original trilogy so great. And I mean, the Coalition, they're wizards when it comes to like game development, and especially when it comes to Unreal Engine. They know how to maximize. Like, they've been working on it for a long time, and they were actually part of they did the Matrix demo that they showed off. I think it was like last year. That was running on Unreal Engine 5. They were part of they were the reason that looked so good, and it ran. I mean, granted, it was at 30 frames, but it was playable, you know? So,
that was a late build. I mean, that was an early build, so...
Yeah, that was an early build. Like, granted,
early build of it.
Can you imagine, like, what they could do with, like, that tech for a full development cycle? Like, that's why I'm really excited for Gear 6, so... But anyway, as far as it comes to a reboot, I do agree that I feel like Gears is in need of a reboot, because and this goes for like games in general. When you get past like the 4th game, things start to be like, okay, you're starting to get long in the tooth. Like, okay, we get it. You're trying to tell this story, but it's like, okay, how many times can you tell essentially the same story again and again and again? And I feel like they're already in the middle of a trilogy with 4, 5, and 6.
Well, they're at the end of the trilogy.
At the end of it, Gear 6 is the end. I do feel like they should do a reboot, but I don't want it to be like a drastic reboot in the same vein as God of War, because God of War, the 2018 God of War is a completely different game than, what was it, God of War 3 that came out before it.
Yeah, definitely.
That one is more like an action adventure game. Like, and I mean, it's the same game, but there's sort of like platform elements and puzzles and stuff like that. Like, I feel like, I mean, granted, the God of War 2018 is also that, but it's drastically different. Like, it's more grounded. It's more like heavy. Like there's not like you're not jumping from freaking giant monsters to like stab them in the eye and then falling off a cliff and stuff like that. Like I mean there are parts like that, but it's like cutscenes. It's not you're not really actually playing that. Anyway,
I think the focus is more narrow, more
yes,
heavy on the story.
exactly.
So that's
So
why.
I do think that they could do that, but I still want it to maintain a focus on the gameplay, because that's literally what makes Gears so great is the gameplay. The story is, I want to say, is more. I mean, most of the time for most games, that's secondary. The story is secondary. The focus should be gameplay. Is it fun to play? And I feel like if they were able to kind of like refocus and kind of add a fresh spin on Gears, it could work. Will Cliffy, or is Cliffy capable of that? Who knows? There's actually a lot of controversy surrounding him because the last game that he made after he left Epic, he made Lawbreakers, and he actually purposely avoided the Xbox platform because I guess maybe he was just tired of working exclusively for Xbox. Yeah. And the game only released on PlayStation and PC. And the problem with that is that, I mean, say what you want, but PlayStation people don't really play multiplayer games like that. Or at least not like arena shooters and stuff. At least back then. So it was kind of like a mismatch. Like it wasn't really the right audience. Like Xbox players are more willing to play multiplayer games than PlayStation players. At least back then when the game released. So, and he even admitted that the game or not releasing on Xbox was a mistake. So I do think him coming back would kind of be like a coming home story, and hopefully. I mean, maybe already working with the coalition with Gear 6. Like, who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
But if they were to do,
I don't know if it's gonna happen though.
If they were to do a reboot, like how much of a reboot would you want it to be? Like, you want it to be like a drastic change? Because I know he said that right before he left, he wanted to experiment with a first-person shooter perspective, which I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know. I just think that anything that comes out of Coalition, I know it's gonna look absolutely amazing. I know it's going to play amazing, especially after the Hive-Buster DLC that they did.
Yeah.
I'm not concerned of how big the reboot can be. I just want it. I want it badly.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it just depends. Because, like, I do like the Gears, like, franchise. I like the lore. Would it be... So if it's like the reboot in the same vein as God of War, essentially it would be a soft reboot then. Because the God of War games, like, everything that happened in the past is still canon. Yeah. It's just a different playstyle and a different pantheon for them to explore with, like, the I was gonna say religion. The mythology. The mythology, there you go. Yeah. So I was trying to look for the word. But yeah, I guess that would mean like everything that happened in Gears would have happened, maybe just with a different perspective or on a new planet, or I don't know.
Well, the theory going around is that they can have it from a perspective of a young child who's going through E-Day, right? For Gears 2. Like in the city, his rise through what happened to him during their emergence day, and then like where he's at into Gears 3 and stuff, like his life. I'm assuming he joined the service and stuff. Yeah, you know, just so like that play on it, where now we're playing Gears, but through the eyes of normal regular person, not like a seasoned war veteran. You know, so
what I do want is for them to lean more into the survival horror aspect, because that was one thing that I did appreciate that Gears brought, was that and I also Halo did it too. That it was a slight tease of like horror.
Yeah.
And I want that back because I feel like that wasn't in the last Gears game. It was a little bit in 4, but not too much. Where I feel vulnerable, and I think that's what the issue is starting to become, is that I don't feel like I'm incapable of taking on these enemies. I want to feel like they are they're a danger, and that if I make a wrong move, that they're gonna ambush me or they're gonna take like advantage of my vulnerability and basically just like overwhelm me. So I want that feeling back from Gears, and I feel like
That's
they kind of
heavy.
deviated too much from that, where I do feel like a super soldier that I can take anybody. I'm a freaking badass. I'll just mow them down, like stuff like that. Like, granted, that's for some people that's all they want, but I want more of like the survival horror. I want like I said, to feel vulnerable, because I feel like that makes the better gameplay. You know?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The question is though, if they do go the reboot route, do they go back to the Gears of War naming structure, or do they keep it as Gears?
No, Gears of War.
No, I agree. I feel like Gears of War was the name, like that. I mean, they said they changed it because they thought it was too similar to God of War, so they didn't want to have that confusion. But fuck that.
How can you get that confused? One's on Xbox, one's on PlayStation.
Right? Yeah.
There's like, no confusion.
I mean, a lot of people call it Gears anyway, but that's what we call it. But
yeah,
that doesn't mean the name should be that. That's just what we call it. But anyway, I feel like they should go back, just call it Gears of War. That's it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh man, let's move on. We have some Xbox news. We'll start with, because I feel like whenever there's anything even remotely negative, the normie media picks it up and just makes it just completely blows it out of proportion. So it was like all over the news, everywhere. I saw it literally all over the place about Xbox's new accessories policy, where unofficial accessories starting in November will not work with the Xbox consoles. And the main thing about why this is important is because specifically for cheaters. So cheaters like to buy things like the Cronus and there's like the other gadgets, the Zims. Yeah, they could buy all these things, and it's like they're able to cheat in games with not just on PC. We're talking Xbox as well. So having banning unofficially licensed, like not licensed, accessories, really will hinder that whole market. And I don't see this as a bad thing. Like, I've never brought an unofficial accessory from my Xbox anyway. It's always been officially licensed. So yeah, I don't see why this was such a big deal. Why it was blown out of proportion. Because like it was all over the place. They're like, "Oh, Xbox is anti-consumer for doing this." I just don't get it. It's like, that's not anti-consumer. Like, they give you a whole bunch of different range of, like, you could buy from third parties if they're officially licensed. If they're not officially licensed, you can't buy it.
Yeah, I think the misconception was that they said third-party unauthorized devices, and people mistook that as all third-party devices.
Yeah.
And people misunderstand that pretty much every third-party controller that you can buy at Target, at Walmart, at Amazon, all these sites that are like reputable sites that you usually buy from, sell these certified, officially authorized controllers. Like that's usually how it goes. So if you can buy it in a store or on Amazon, it's officially licensed. Like that's basically what you need to know. There are some controllers that you and I said as a joke, like on Twitter when this was going on, that like there's controllers you could buy on Wish and on Temu that aren't officially licensed that will work, but they're like $12 and they'll break within like a few days. So you probably don't want to be using that anyway.
Does anybody actually really use that? That's crazy to me.
I mean, there's some people who do. Like, I mean, Wish makes money apparently. So,
Fine.
so yeah, but there's also, I mean, some people brought up the fact that so in the fighting game community, people use the arcade sticks.
Yeah.
And there are certain controllers that are kind of like universal, and you, in order to use it on Xbox, you need like an adapter or something like that. And they were worried that that would be considered unauthorized. But I mean, I don't think so. I mean, granted, we haven't really heard anything about it. If that's the case, and even Xbox has come out and said that if you can use the whatever device you're trying to use with the accessibility controller that Xbox has,
Yeah.
then it won't be blocked. So I guess, I mean, maybe it would be best, because that's the thing. People are talking about, oh, what if they have to buy like they shouldn't have to buy another fight stick or something like that. But it's like the fact that they bought an arcade fight stick means that they value this this, I guess, genre enough to buy a dedicated controller for it.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, if you're willing to make that investment, you can make an extra investment to make sure that your controller works on Xbox. I know it sucks, and it will. Granted, we don't know. They haven't implemented. I think it's on November 13th or 12th or something like that.
12th, I believe. Yeah, November 12th.
So we'll see. But I honestly, I feel like this is a non-issue, and it's mainly targeting, like you said, the cheating devices, which people have been complaining about for years, about these cheating devices that it basically tricks the Xbox into thinking that a controller is plugged in, but they're actually using like a mouse and keyboard. That's essentially what it is. And then they're able to like use all these extra functions and stuff like that, that it basically gives them an advantage that they wouldn't have without it. So, and people have been complaining about that for so long. And I'm pretty sure that PlayStation had did this a long time ago, where they blocked like the same kind of like devices from being used on PlayStation.
They did. You can't use anything but PlayStation licensed accessories.
Exactly. Which, granted, they really don't do third-party controller.
I don't.
I can't remember the last time I saw a third-party PlayStation controller, like since like the PS2 days.
Yeah, no, there's not very many out there. Because at the heart of it, Xbox and PlayStation, they make more money selling accessories than they do like selling the console sometimes. So
yeah,
that's like their bread and butter. Why would they eliminate big markets? You know, they're going to make sure that a lot of the people who are buying these accessories, and they're gonna make sure it works for them. And they've updated the article. They did say that you're fine with the adapters as long as it's plugged in with the accessory things. You're fine. So there's no real big outrage, but for whatever reason, the outrage was there. And I just feel like when anything happens with Xbox, the media takes it and they blow it out of proportion. And it's just not. It wasn't even like that. It's like, really, it's not that serious.
Yeah, just people like to blow things out of proportion because it's Xbox. And I mean, we talked about it before the show, but there was another issue that happened where so when Xbox has a game coming out, a big like first party game, they usually they'll do it one time. When you start up your Xbox, you'll get like a splash screen that says, hey, this game is coming out. You want to pre-order it or do you skip it? Whatever.
Yeah.
And this happened because now that the ABK deal is done, Call of Duty is a first-party title now. They did it with Call of Duty because now they're trying to get people into the idea where Call of Duty is associated with Xbox. Granted, Sony still has the marketing, whatever, for until next year.
Yeah, of course.
But they can still do this. They're trying to like figure out ways where they can work around it. So they did this, and I think it was on Wednesday, or whatever the day that the early access started. They had a flash or a splash screen, which, granted, I didn't even see. I don't know what people are talking about. I did not see this splash screen, so
I didn't either. I didn't see it all, and I'm on our Xbox every day.
Yeah, me too. So I had no idea what people were talking about. But anyway, apparently there was a splash screen that it showed up full screen that said pre-order Call of Duty. You can press B and exit it, and then you'll be done. That's it. That's the only time you will see it. But people really got upset with this because they feel like, oh, it's like intrusive advertising, and why are they putting this full screen on my Xbox? I paid $500 for this Xbox. I shouldn't have ads pushed in my face and stuff like that. And it's like, honestly, like, and it's funny. I got into it with somebody. Like, PlayStation essentially did the same thing, but not as like in your face. They subtly did it. Where if you start your PS5 and you go into the main dashboard or whatever, the menu, it starts on the Explore screen. And on that screen, it shows like 2 tiles and then like a little text box on the side or whatever. Those 2 tiles, but a few weeks ago, it was just Spider-Man. Like, that's all you saw. Spider-Man 2 pre-ordered, and then the deluxe edition, you can pre-order that one.
Yep.
That is essentially the same thing.
No, it's different because it's Spider-Man and Sony.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. It's Sony, so it's okay.
Yeah, you got the Xbox packs, remember?
Yeah, so like people were talking about, oh, it's not the same thing. I could just go to the right and I'm off of it. It's like, yeah, and I can press B and I'm off of the splash screen on Call of Duty. So like literally, you're just it's arguing over semantics, and it gets me upset. I don't say it doesn't get me upset. It's just it's funny because
it's annoying.
It is annoying, and granted, I am with people who don't like this stuff. I understand. Personally, it's not a big deal to me. Is it annoying? Sure, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not worth complaining about. Because I deal with ads all over the freaking place when it comes to like freaking the radio or TV or on the internet. Like, granted, I try my best to avoid it, but even on social media, you see ads. Like, ads are everywhere. That's just the reality of our society. Ads are going to be everywhere. You can do what you can to avoid them, but eventually you're going to run into one. And if you're really going to get freaking a dirty diaper over a friggin' splash screen that you can just press one button and it goes away, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that, then you're really gonna have a hard time in the future, because that's just how it is. Like, that's not even just gaming, just anything is gonna have ads. Even on freaking streaming services, they have ads now, ad supported tiers. Or even when you don't have the ad, like you have the ad free tier, like you have ads for stuff on the freaking app. Like, I don't understand. Like, if you open up Netflix, the first thing you'll see is whatever they're promoting, and then you'll get to the stuff you want to watch, like down your list. So it's like that. There's no difference. So,
and I think it's more so just about Call of Duty, because of the acquisition of ABK. I think most people who are actually complaining about it don't really care at all. They're just trying to make noise. Right, they don't really care, all right? Because anybody who has an Xbox or owns an Xbox has gotten these ads before. They did it with Starfield, they did it with Redfall, they did it all the time.
They did it with Forza.
They did it with Forza, exactly. So it's like, what's the big deal now? Oh, because it's ABK and Call of Duty. Like, come on now, it just doesn't make any sense. People want to be mad just to be mad for likes, clicks, for shares, because that's how they're getting their money. You know, they're making money off of Twitter and shares and stuff from the engagement online. So of course they're gonna make a big deal out of nothing, because that's what it is. It's absolutely nothing.
That's it, exactly. That's all there is to say. It's nothing.
All right. So the last bit of news we have, again some more of Big Nothing Burger, because it has to do with Xbox. So the normies picked it up, and they found out that soon all Xbox employees or Microsoft employees will no longer have access to the Game Pass Ultimate for free. So apparently, Xbox employees or just Microsoft employees had Xbox Ultimate for free, and it was set to expire come in January. And they said people were upset. The workers were upset. Well, as soon as it happened, Phil Spencer came out and acknowledged that he's looking into it because he had absolutely no idea that this was set to expire. And then, literally right before we started recording, Phil Spencer came out and reversed the decision. That's not going to happen. They'll still have access. So like everybody was all online. They're like, oh look, they're taking it away from even their own employees. And they're making a big deal out of it again for likes, for shares, for just for engagement, just to be against Xbox. That's all I feel like it was for. When in reality, it's it was a nothing burger again.
Yeah, I don't, and it's funny because when I first heard about it, I was like, oh shit, they're actually getting it for free? Like, okay. Like that, I've never heard of that before. Like I honestly, I've never worked for a company where they gave something for free, like a service or product or whatever. It's always like discounted, or you get an employee discount, whatever the case. That's usually how it goes. So the fact that they were getting it for free, it was just like, oh, okay. So, I mean, now they're going to be like everybody else. So then, and even then, when they were going to expire this, it was going to be, they would still get Game Pass at a discounted rate. So it's like, they would be like par for the course. But I mean, it's cool that they reversed it, that they're still going to keep it for free and stuff like that. So that's a good move. And props to Phil for being able to step in and that, because he's the freaking head of Xbox or head of Microsoft Gaming.
Whoa, calm down. We're sounding too much like an Xbox podcast, bro.
Well, it's just silly. It's like, why would, like, I've never worked for somebody and expected something for free. Like, even if like I work at a hospital, you think I'm gonna get free healthcare? Like, no, like
no, this is America. What do you mean
right?
free healthcare?
Oh, there. Like, what? That
we got
makes
$14 billion for war, but not for healthcare.
But you know, it's funny too, because like this also kind of sheds light on Xbox's ability to adapt due to like response and like feedback and stuff like that. Because we actually didn't mention it, but I think it was last week or the week before. I don't remember. It was sometime within the last week that the price for the Xbox Series S in Brazil was increased by like $200 or something like that. Something crazy.
It was the same price as a digital PS5.
Yeah, and a lot of people were upset, and including me. I was like, that makes no sense. And people were saying like, you're killing the Xbox in Brazil. Like the Series X was still the same price, but the Series S was supposed to be the entry point for a lot of people, and especially for a third world. Is Brazil a third world country?
Whoa, calm down there.
No, I don't know. I'm not. Anyway, there's a lot of like less fortunate people who want to be able to get into gaming at an affordable price, and the Series S was that entry. So it made no sense to make it as much as the PlayStation 5 digital. So there was a lot of backlash, and Xbox,
rightfully so.
Rightfully so. And Xbox reversed the decision. I don't know what was, and to this day, like I kept hearing about it, that there was like, there was tariffs from the Brazilian government who they tax more money on goods made in China or something like that. There was a lot of like
speculation.
It was speculations. There was a deep rabbit hole that I went down trying to figure out, like looking at all this stuff and trying to see like what was the cause. And I think it wasn't necessarily that they did it on purpose. It was an economic thing. So they just adjusted, and they didn't really think about it. But I mean, the fact that they were able to go back and reverse the decision and change the price back to what it was before shows that they are listening. And that's one of the benefits of the Xbox ecosystem, or the Xbox leadership and the community, and just anything related to Xbox, is that they do listen. And they reversed this decision. They reversed the Game Pass decision. They reversed the Xbox Live Gold decision that I think was like last year, where they were going to increase it like double before they canceled it altogether. So the fact that they do listen to feedback is an important element to Xbox's growth and their future success, because when that whole leak happened with the roadmap that Xbox had, people were very like disappointed with it, especially with the all digital Series X. Like that was their refresh. Like that was gonna be their mid-gen refresh for like these consoles. And granted, we don't know if that's like how set in stone that was, it was something from last year, and plans could change. And Phil Spencer said that the plans could change, or the plans have changed, that they have real plans that they're gonna reveal soon. But the fact that they are able to change course so quickly and so smoothly, rather, too, because this type of stuff, you need to be on top of it. And that's one thing that, Sony has had issues in the past too, where they've made decisions that they had to reverse. The whole, I think it was the PS3 store shutting down, that they reversed it, and I'm pretty sure it's still like up. Like, it's not, they don't have plans to close it, or maybe they do. I can't remember the last thing I read about it. But that's the thing. Like, when you do something that's not favorable and people speak out about it, you have to be able to change course if necessary. And that's what Xbox does. And I'm glad that they were able to change course in this situation for the employees. Because, like, if I was getting Game Pass for free, I would say something and be like, hey, I want it for free still. Like, it's not, granted, it's not the end of the world. Like, I can still pay for it, but if I don't got to, why should I?
Yeah. and then on the point of just having the community be very vocal and them changing things, big shout out to the Brazilian community down there, because I've known for a long time that the Brazilian community is a huge Xbox community down there, and
a lot of like South American and like Central American, like that's a big area for Xbox.
Yes, definitely. And they spoke out. They were outraged. They spoke out. They even contacted people, high level people on Twitter, in Xbox, to try and get answers. And it was hard to get answers because, like you said, you went down a rabbit hole. I did too, and I couldn't find legit answers either. So shout out to the community in Brazil and all of Central and South America who stood up to the giant that Microsoft is, and to try and reverse their decision. They did. So just shout out to them. And as communities, as players, as gamers, we have to stick together on these big issues so we could come together and push these companies to do the right thing. Because at the end of the day, they're there for profits. Right. They're there to take our money, but that doesn't mean we can't fight for what is right with and for our money. So, just shout out to them.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we got for the news, ladies and gentlemen.
That's what we got. We're right at that hour mark, and I think that's it for this episode. Any parting thoughts?
We're not an Xbox podcast, but we're almost there.
We're Xbox kind of sort of focused, because we talk about Sony stuff. So.
We do. But the thing is, the Sony person is not here right now to back them up. Yeah,
what's funny too? Like, I just realized we really don't talk about Nintendo too much. Like, they don't really do anything that's worth like talking about.
They come out with their games, and
that's it.
We play them. That's it.
That's it.
We play Pokemon and Mario. There's no major news to discuss from them, and when there is, we will report it.
Pretty much. So that's it for us, guys. We forgot to mention in the beginning to like and subscribe. Please do that, and rate us on whatever podcast app you use, because we're trying to reach as wide of an audience as possible. So
if you made it to the end, thank you very much for listening. Again, like and subscribe.
1000%, and we will catch you guys next week. Peace.
Latest.